The bio digester for this video was constructed for a 4-bedroom house right here in Accra. And then we are also constructing the digester, which is the large family size digester, as well as the traditional soakaway, the small size 4x4 one, attached to this particular digester. Now, the understanding for most of this job comes from the background and the work that might have been done already, which includes an earlier inspection that you will have to do. It also includes agreeing one with the plumber to know the level for the construction in terms of the gradient, where the pipes are and where they are coming from, as well as knowing the number of toilet seats and where they are also located. You also have to get to know how good the ground is and then the saturation level in terms of the water table, how high it is. So all these things is something that must have been done already before the construction site. So for this one, what we did was to have the top slab cast when it was being done. Then the rest of the concrete is what we use to do the screeding on the floor. That was a day or two before. So immediately you come and you are going to set up the main construction or the main block laying or brick laying, which one that you're using. Then you know that you have a firm ground on which to put your mortar, and then your blocks can come on it. It makes it easier, and then it makes your work neat. One, it also ensures that it's technically done well, and then the layout becomes very complete, and then it works well for you. So we are using corridors blocks for this digester. We are using the 5 inches one, 5 inches solid, and we usually prefer the corridors because then it goes a long way to ensure the long-lasting use of the digester in the first place, as well as making our work easier when it comes to having correction done for future issues that might come with. As much as you don't want the wastewater or the water to be retained in the digester, you also have to make room for the humid nature of how the chamber is going to be. So if you are using the normal blocks, then sometimes, with time, it might just get so wet that it might fall apart. So we prefer the corridors blocks for most of this construction. And then we also would like to make sure that the inside layer of the digester is also rendered, like plastering is done for that part. Remember when we started doing some of this construction, what we're doing with that, we're not rendering the inside because we are looking at how the corridor blocks that we are using will be so solid that you don't need to do that. But then some of the clients said that they want the inside to render as well. And then we were thinking that sometimes the pores of the system has to breathe, but there's no technical background to it. So now most of the time what we do is we also render the inside of the digester, as you are going to see at the later part of this video. The inside of this digester will be rendered. So we are laying the coats. We are going to do maximum 3 coats. The reason for the 3 coats, usually 4 coats, and the 4th one must show up so that when the top slab comes on it, then it might either flash with the ground level or it might go up a bit above the ground level. But the owner of this property specifically told us they don't want it to show. They want it to be hidden, they want it to be buried, and they want it to be at the backyard of the house. The digester, probably the top slab I show, there's about 2 inches when all the groundwork is done. But for the traditional soakaway, you are not going to see anything when it is done. Everything will be hidden nicely, and then when the groundwork is done, you can flash with it, and it will be hidden. Most people now do not like the digester showing, and there's a reason why. Technically, it's okay, but there are also situations that you meet depending on the gradient and the pipes are coming, where you need the biodigester to show a bit so that you can get your level for the inlet pipe just to come in at the required level and at the required size. And then you get your location right, you get the exact place you are going to site,
the biodigester. You can do this together with the plumber and the homeowner as well, or you can give them your technical advice. That's what is going to work for the biodigester. What it also means is that where are the pipes coming from? How many toilets are in the house? How many pipes are coming from which part of the building? You need to know all these things to decide where you are going to place the biodigester. Some homeowners will let you know that they prefer the biodigester at the back and it's hidden. But maybe there's a guest toilet in front of the house. Is it going to work when you leave it at the back there? Will it come? Will it not fall under it? Will it be enough gradient for you to come for you a gentle slope that will work for your biodigester? You need to agree on these ones before you decide where you're going to site the biodigester. Maximum feet is 2 feet. You have to go, then probably you are looking at 3 feet. How many courses of block are you going to lay? What's the level of the house when the final groundworks are done? How many inches does the homeowner or the architect or the groundworks do they look at for? Do they want the digester to show only 2 inches? Are they looking at it flashing with the ground, or they are going to do some tiling around them? So they prefer it to show, and then it becomes part of the design of the house. You will need to know all these things so that when you do your digester, you get a place for the top slab as well, and then it can be hidden, or depending on what you're looking for, you can get it nicely. I also have to get the size of the digester right. Is it a standard size family biodigester? Is it a large one? What is the purpose for which you are constructing the biodigester? Is it going to be for a commercial use? Is it going to be for a simple apartment? Or is it going to be for domestic? I mean, depending on the type of building that you have there, you have to decide on that one as well. I have the video that explains the sizes of biodigester that you can consider when you're constructing a biodigester. The link will be up in the cast and you can have a look at it to decide the type of digester. The rectangular shape means that the digester has got about 6 feet on the length, and then the width is 2.5 or 3 feet, and then the depth you're looking at 2 feet or 2.5 feet, so that you know your bedding materials are coming in, you know your filtration materials are all going to be neat, and then it's going to work as you envisage it to work for you. The reason why we also consider the rectangular shape is because the type of simple on-site biodegradable waste biodigester that we do, they work in such a way that you have the outlet leading to the soak away or into a drainage system, depending on whatever one is available to you for the wastewater. And you are going to do a screening at the base just to separate the water from the human waste. So the rectangular shapes work well. Now you have options. You do have a soak away, which means that you are going to do some block work and have the leche pipe connected to it. Or you are going to have a soak hole pit, which means that you are going to have stones that will be laid in it, and then you are going to have some rubber or carpet on top of it, and then you are going to put back the topsoil on it so that it can be buried in the ground. There are conditions for having a soak hole pit, which means that the ground is good for you and it's going to work perfectly for soaking the wastewater that will be coming to the soak away from the biodigester. Your gradient is key in this situation. You don't want the water to go back. Is to lay the blocks. That's if you are doing it using blocks or bricks, or to use a prefabricated slabs and have them erected to fit the size of the hole that you have dug. When you are doing biodigester using blocks, we prefer you use the Corridors blocks because they are firm, they have been pressed, and they can contain any moist or any water that might retain in the biodigester. So you lay your blocks. If you cannot do them yourself, get an expert in terms of a mason to have the blocks laid for you, because it actually does require some technical understanding. But it's also your best bet, knowing that you are a beginner in the biodigester construction. The simple one to do is to just lay the blocks. If you also have access to a prefabricated slab, or you know how to cast these prefabricated slabs, you're also good to go. The advantage is that I mean that your digester can be done within a short period of time. So you lay your blocks to match the size of the hole that you have dug, and then you lay them to the level in which you want them to be, considering where you are going to put your slabs, that's the filtration slabs, and the materials, including all the bedding materials that will go on that slab, where they are going to be, and what level room is going to be left for your inlet pipe that's coming. That's key. Remember the inlet pipe that's coming. The inlet pipe is coming from the house, and then the outlet is where the leach pipe will be leading to your soak hole pit or your soak away. it's key you get this one right, because if you do not get this one right, the biodigester will be rendered ineffective, and only after using it for a few weeks or months you are going to have problems, because there's not going to be any biodegradation that will take place. Laying the blocks and getting it right is key for your biodigester construction. When you are going to cast the top slabs for your biodigester, you have to cast a slab for the bedding material. This slab means that you are going to perforate them and you are going to leave holes in them. Mostly, if you are using the prefabricated slabs, we do have the chippings that have been done into porous. That's what we use for the filtration of the bedding material. You are going to have to lay them on the biodigester, because you have done your screeding when you lay the blocks, and then you have done a gradient that leads straight into the so-called pit, which means that any water that comes into the biodigester is going to be drained immediately. There is rapid separation. That's what we say, rapid separation, and that's the key difference between a biodigester and a septic system. While the septic system is a holding tank, which means that the water together with the human waste is all retained in the tank, hopefully for longer use, and then the truck will come and dislodge it. The biodegradable waste biodigesters work in such a way that the human waste is what is retained in the digester, and the wastewater is drained out immediately you flush it. And the microorganisms that you do introduce, including your bedding materials, will help biodegrade the human waste, so that in the near future, if you have to do maintenance and have them taken out, it is easy to dispose them either at your backyard garden, or it can be taken away and dumped anywhere easily at your backyard. There's no problem with that. That's exactly what you cannot get when you do a septic system, because it means that the truck will show up in the house, have to have it sipped out. It has to be taken to a treatment plant for it to be treated, so that later it can be disposed of easily. In terms of the biodigester bed preparation, you will need your fiber nets, you will need your coconut fiber, you need your filtration material, anything that you're using that makes it work for you. I have done a video that explains how to construct a biodigester vividly, and then it's going to be available in the description box below, and you can have a look at it after watching this video. The seventh simple step that you will need to take in constructing a biodigester is to put the top slab and seal it airtight. Now, to the bonus point, somebody will tell you when you put the top slab on it, you have to give it a vent pipe. I do not subscribe to that. I've done a lot of videos explaining this one as well. I do not agree with that statement. The biodigester need to be sealed airtight, because you don't want it to work in the absence of oxygen, which means that any vent that comes in is going to invite unnecessary things into the biodigester. It's going to invite flies. When it rains, rain might seep in because you have put a vent pipe on it. Water might just go into the digester, and that's what the digester does not like. Digesters do not like water in them. So the vent that's needed in the house is enough to serve everybody. If you are building a house, you need to have a vent pipe as part of the construction. If a plumber shows up in the house, ask them. The first question is, do we have a vent in this house? If they don't have, tell them to create one on the wall and extend it all the way to the top, so that if there's any air that needs to go out, it can pass through it. If there's air in your biodigester that needs to go out, it can come back and pass through that vent. If there's a bad smell that is also in the toilet that needs to go out, it can come through the vent and then it will go. You don't need a vent pipe on a biodigester. Aesthetically, it's not pleasing. It doesn't look nice on the eye. Locating a biodigester by the corner and put your vent pipe on it. How long can you extend it? You are not supposed to put the vent pipe that's short on a biodigester. It's technically wrong.
With digesters, you do not need a track to dislodge. With septic tanks, you require a track dislodging, whereby the solid waste is carried away to be treated at a plant or at a site.
The key part, like I always say in most of this construction, is to make sure you know where your wastewater is going. If you have a fair idea of how to manage the wastewater that's coming in, so when you have a fair idea of how to manage that wastewater, the biodigesters simply work, because then there's biodegradation that takes place for the human waste, and then the tissue papers that will all be dropped in it. The excess water is what must go out at every point in time, so that it doesn't clog the pipeway, it doesn't affect the biodegradation process that must happen in such a technology. Dream House Home Improvements, constructors of biodegradable waste biodigesters, and of course we do education and how to construct these biodigesters as well. It's a channel dedicated to those who are interested in biodigester and biogas and human waste management in general here in Ghana. If you are new to the channel, hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel so that any new video that we do, you'll be the first to be notified of it. And then of course you can be part of this growing community of biodigester lovers. So biodigesters have become the go-to human waste management technology right now, especially in Ghana here, because of the advantages that they have over other human waste management systems. What's happening with biodigesters is basically because the human waste get biodegraded, and then there's a rapid separation of the human waste from the wastewater whenever it's flushed from in the house or from the WC in the house. You have that room to break down the feces through anaerobic digestion, and of course have the water separated into a different place. That could be a soak-away pit, it can be a drainage system, or it can be a standard traditional soak-away. All those things work. Unlike the septic tank whereby everything is all together and then you are forced to wait for a time, hopefully that there's a soak-away attached to it that will work, or to have it dislodged by a truck. So the challenge with most homeowners right now is because the lands are usually waterlogged or it doesn't soak enough water. Whenever they do construct a septic tank, they do have problems of how to have it managed. And then it costs them a lot of money to have these septic tanks done, and then obviously how to treat the waste. There are not enough treatment centers here in Accra, especially in other parts of the country. So when the biodigesters became prominent, and then everybody realized that they are working, most homeowners now are advocating for it, are actually choosing it as an option in terms of how they treat their waste. And that's where we came in. The pipes are up, and we are going to try to match those pipes to the biodigester, and then we will drop them into the biodigester. There's a reason why you need a soak-away in this particular situation. I've done videos that shows why soak-away is your best option. Traditional soak-away is your best option when it comes to biodigesters. And in this house, that's exactly what we are doing.
As I've said, biodigesters, they are more like an integrated wastewater management system, and is used as a part of treating biodegradable waste in sewage sludge. The technology through aerobic digestion breaks down human waste with the aid of microorganisms that basically break down the solid waste for easy disposal in the environment. This is in sharp contrast to the septic tank system or the manhole, right? But the septic tank basically works in such a way that you have to have chambers done. It can be 3 chambers. The septic tank is so that you will need a space. Most of the times you need 10 feet by 10 or 10 by 8, 10 by 6, depending on the space that's available to you. You can use it to construct your septic tank. So your depth is like 10 feet, 15 feet or 20 feet. And then you have to do the concrete. At the base, you have to do the top slab, which is a huge concrete. Because most of the time, when you do the septic tank, it will have to be in front of the house. And because of the amount of work involved in constructing a septic tank, it might take you 1 week, 2 weeks, some say 3 weeks. Because when you do the concrete at the base, you are required to leave it for it to dry enough before the blocks are laid on it. And then you will need your iron rods for the top cover. With the kind of space that you need for a septic tank is key. And the installation time, the number of weeks or days it might take you to have it constructed, either by the mason or you will contract them to do the septic tank for you, will also come in place. Now, when you do construct the septic tank, the depth is important. Septic tanks works in such a way that the water and the human waste are going to stay together in the same place, which means that the deeper, the better. If you have enough feet going down, is dug either by the caterpillar or the contractors who are going to dig it. If they're able to dig 20 feet or 15 feet, and if they do not meet water, then the better for you. It means that it will take you a long time for 2 things to happen. either the human waste likely will settle down slowly, and then the soakaway will work well, whereby it will not come to the top for it to get full, and that will require you needing a truck to dislodge in your. And the second thing is, the longer the human waste stays in the septic tank, the better it's able to break down to a level whereby it can settle at the base, and then the water can go into the overflow tank, and then it can go into the soakaway for easy disposal, for the soakaway to do its part of the work. So that's one of the key things in case you are going to construct a septic tank, you are supposed to look out for. You are also supposed to take into account the environment that is being done. Dream House Biodigesters. Now, thank you once again. This is a video about how to construct a biodigester using blocks and then connecting it to a traditional soakaway. You can like it and leave a comment below as well on this channel. Now, what we are doing right now is to do the rendering for inside the digester itself. Rendering or plastering, as most people know it, means that we are covering the block with thin sheet of mortar just to make sure that the inside is firm and then it looks good and pleasing on the eye. The idea is also to make sure that the block is equally held together firmly for long-lasting use and for continuous use of this biodigester. All it means is that we have done the block work, which in this case was 3 layers. Usually we do 4 coats, but as I've explained in the beginning of the video, what we are doing is to have this digester totally buried under the ground. The homeowner does not want it to be seen. So the top or the last block, which we have brought it up above ground level, is not going to be part of this digester. It's going to be hidden. When the top slab comes on it, then it will flash with the ground, as you might see later the video at the final part. The digester bed has also been done in terms of the screening. In actual fact, the screening was done even before the blocks were laid on the ground. We did the screening using the concrete that came from the mortar and the mixture that we did for the top slab, which we had cast a day or 2 earlier as the construction work was going on. So ahead you can see is what the soakaway is going to be, and then the shear pipe is what's going to be connected to it. This is what the soakaway basically was going to be like. The shear pipe is in it, and then the construction of the soakaway means that what we are going to actually connect and put wastewater into is where the traditional soakaway comes in. This has become part of our construction because most homeowners, or the initial understanding for biodigester construction, is to have the digester itself and then have a soakaway pit. But with time, we have come to realize that the digesters do not last long when you simply just connect them to a soakaway pit. The understanding for most of this is also from the background that either the ground is not good, it's clay, or it's waterlogged, so it's not going to soak well. And with time, after a couple of years, depending on the lifestyle and the users of the facility, the water might not get soaked into the ground wall. And then the difficulty also comes in the fact that you might have covered the ground in which the soakaway pit was buried. Either some bricks will have been laid there, or concrete work might have been done there, or tiling might have been done there. So it's difficult to have access to that soakaway pit if it becomes ineffective in doing the job. What that means is that you have to do another soakaway pit and get another leachate pipe at a different angle to the digester. But you know, the initial digester construction was done, or is being done, with the slope and the gradient leading to the first soakaway pit. That makes the work difficult, and then with time your digester will just not work well for you. So what we have done, most of our clients over the past 3 or 4 years, is that to make sure that your digester lasts longer, and that one is guaranteed based on what we have seen over the years, simply get a traditional soakaway as part of the construction of a biodigester. That will make sure that the leachate pipe that you are seeing there and the block works that have been done there will let the wastewater go into the soakaway. And that if the ground is not good, in the worst case scenario, it's a waterlogged area or it's a clean area, and then it's not going to soak, we are going to have an outlet for the wastewater to be easily taken out of that contained area, which is the soakaway. And then if the ground is good, the more the better. Because naturally, at one level that the wastewater comes up to, it will still have time and then it will soak into the ground. So most of the clients that we have now, what we have advised them is to get a soakaway done. A traditional one, I mean. It's expensive. It makes your construction goes up. It eventually brings it to a higher level for you. And most people might have talked to other contractors who will be telling them, you can use this amount to do the biodigester for you. But they are actually not telling them the right thing. And sometimes from experience, most contractors are also looking for their quick payday. They are only waiting for what they were going to get today. So they are not going to explain the thing to you for you to make a firm decision based on the cost. We also advise that the digesters must be done based on cost and the items that are listed, let's say, in an invoice. So the soakaway will come at a cost. That the traditional soakaway will come at a cost because it means that you need additional block, you need additional labor work, you need additional iron rods, and you need additional cement, and all that comes with construction. And it means that it will also take time for the construction to be done. The turnaround time, if it's going to be done in 2 days, it might be 3 or 4 days for the complete construction to be done. So the soakaway gives an added advantage. It gives the guarantee to the homeowner that the water that comes into the soakaway will be sipped slowly onto the earth surface because there are going to be holes underneath the biodigester level, and the soakaway pit, which includes the leachate pipe coming in, will always have a room for the wastewater to go. Remember, like I've always said, the only problem in construction, if it's done well, is where the water is going. You get the water right, and then you are good to go. So always have a room for the water. Your biodigester is not going to get full. Your biodigester will work well, and then your biodigester will last longer. So in this case, we are laying blocks. We have done 4 coats, as you can see, and we are going to do the last coat. The homeowner strictly want this soakaway to be buried. Probably the clean out is what will show. He just does not want to see the soakaway. So even though the digester is up, the soakaway is lower. It's at an angle lower than the biodigester top slab. And that's exactly how he wanted it. So the soakaway has been done with the understanding that 2 coats of block is below the leachate pipe. And then the other blocks will come up at the top. So the other blocks will come at the top, and then it will just work well as it has been envisaged. The construction also means that you are doing the soakaway using quarry dust blocks, because the soakaway, you're not going to do rendering inside. The water, most of the time, will be staying inside the soakaway. So your best bet is to make sure that it does have some pores. It's going to soak a lot of the water. So the quarry dust blocks work well in this situation. You have to make sure that your biodigester is done using quarry dust blocks, and then your soakaway is also done using quarry dust blocks. We prefer the 5 inches blocks. If you don't get 4 inches, the better. It means that it gives you enough room inside the digester. But ideally, 5 inches is okay. 6 inches might make the inside, the diameter smaller. It will lower the amount of space that you are going to get for the wastewater to come and settle in. So ideally, 5 inches solid block is always preferable. And then you have your mortar mixed, and then you have the block laid. It must be done by a professional. It must be done with the hose, leaving the pores that will allow the wastewater to seep around the surrounding earth. And then you must have a top cover that was going to have a clean out on it, like an access chamber, which will ensure that you can always have access to the inside of the soakaway. You can see the inside of the soakaway in any given case during the rain season. If there's a lot of water inside, you can see the inside, and if you will have to have it pumped out, it can be done. But most of the time, the amount of water that stays in the soakaway coming from the biodigester is negligible. I've explained to a few people over the years that the toilet water is really not your problem. most of the time, your biggest problem is not the tunnel's water. Your biggest problem is the grey water. It is not the black water. The water from your WC is less than half a bucket. It's not going to rise up to the point of it overflowing and returning back to your shade pipe. So the more the advantage is getting a soak away means that you are going to guarantee the safer or the longer use of your constructed biodigester. And it also means that you are adding value to what is it that you have done, and you are going to have a very good return on your investment when it comes to biodigester construction. So the next time you are constructing a biodigester, ask for a traditional soakaway to be attached to the digester. So we are now preparing the biodigester bed. We are doing the bedding material. The first of them is to put the mosquito net or the fiber net into the porous slab that might have already been laid in. As you can see, the porous slab is going to have the pores, and then it's going to have the holes, which allows the wastewater to seep into the screening surface and then through the shade pipe into the soakaway. So make sure that it's tagging neatly at the sides. You don't want anything to pass the side and enter the screening surface of the biodigester. The fiber net or the mosquito net must be tagging neatly, and then to make sure that all the layers fit in perfectly when it comes to what you are doing. The understanding is also that when it comes to doing the maintenance work, then this layer is what will be taken out from the biodigester bed, including the residue of what is left of the biodegradable material, and then the human waste residue, including all the inorganic materials, will all be on the net, and then those ones can be taken out from the biodigester bed. So it's key to always have your fiber net or your mosquito net as part of your biodigester construction when it comes to the bedding material. The next thing is to put your coconut fiber or treated coconut husk into the biodigester bed. With this, you are also going to guarantee that your biodegradation process works according to perfection, and that is also going to make sure that the scent will be taken out. Usually what happens with scent in biodigesters is because of the wastewater. If you have done your biodigester in such a way that the water is going out from the digester and then the coconut fiber is treating the human waste, there's virtually going to be no scent. It's highly unlikely for you to have scent, because the scent comes from the fact that the water has been mixed with the human waste. So you spread the coconut fiber evenly on top of the biodigester bed. Make sure that it's enough, it's plenty, it's covering all the areas of the biodigester bed. The inlet pipe where the human waste will come from must have a bigger chunk of the coconut fiber. This ensures that whenever the human waste comes on it, then it can spread evenly across the other surfaces. Ensure this is done, and then your biodigester is good to go. So this is the completed work in terms of the soakaway and then the biodigester itself with the biodigester bed. The inlet pipe, as you can see there, the shade pipe in the soakaway is what you can also see there, and then the biodigester is at the other side. So there's a gradient coming in, and this is how to construct a biodigester using the traditional soakaway and then having it done using blocks as well. The next thing that must be done is to cover the biodigester bed with the top slabs. These slabs should have been done earlier and be allowed to cure well before you take them. These slabs are done with iron rods and a mixture of concrete and then your mortar to make sure that it's firm and it has to be cast. And then you can put it on it and make sure your digester is sealed airtight. You do not need a vent on your biodigester. If there's the need for a vent, it must be on the building, because the toilet scents that will come into the house will be coming through the pipes that have been laid from the bedroom itself. So make sure there's a vent that's needed, is on the building. This is Dreamhouse biodigesters. The next video showing on the channel is going to explain to you how biodigesters work and how you can use it as an option in managing your human waste.